Good morning, students. We have reached the final part of the chapter Understanding Marginalization. The last topic I discussed with you was the marginalization of Adivasis. Now, in this topic, the concluding part, we'll discuss the marginalization which is being done by the process which is being done by the minorities. Now, the basic concept you need to understand is, firstly, whom do you call a minority? Minorities are those people who are lesser in number. Remember that. So, in India, if you talk about minorities, apart from Hindus, who are from the basic part of the society, they are huge in number. They are the greater part in number. So the other people would be the minorities. The other religion followers would be the minorities. When we were learning about the fundamental rights in chapter number 1, we'd come across a point that the fundamental rights ensure the protection of rights of the minorities. So why do the minorities need that kind of protection is the question. The word minority itself will create in those people a kind of insecurity. For example, in the class, if I ask you, if a project has to be done or an activity has to be done, I would say how many of you vote yes for it. So say three-quarters of the class said yes. And how many would say no for it? So 1/4 raised their hand. So I would go with the majority of the people. So it happens everywhere. Wherever the majority lies, the decision is taken on behalf of the majority, leaving the minorities insecure. So this feeling of insecurity, as we had discussed about the process of marginalization, leads to a low esteem, low self-esteem. You curb your own, the way you can take care of things, your own capabilities, you don't explore because you have a notion in your mind. You have insecurity in your mind that you won't be heeded or attention won't be given to you. So in this particular part, in your textbook, we'll be learning about the minorities, Muslims. Muslims are only 14.2% of the India's population and the most insecure category of our society. They feel so because they are under the notion that the majority of the decisions are taken on behalf of those who are major in number in the society and they are Hindus. This particular thought process leads to many conflicts in opinion. Sometimes you see the change in the form of a riot as well. Now, if they have insecurities, what can be the possible reason of they having insecurities? The major decision making in the law processes also are kept in mind, are done and kept in mind while keeping in mind the majority sect of the society as well. So this actually, even if it has nothing to do with disparity or discrimination or marginalization, leads to a thought process in these people's mind that they are being neglected or they are being targeted. These are the two words which always haunt them, that all these things are happening anti us and we have no benefit out of what is being done. So they always live with this feeling in their mind of marginalization. Certain steps are taken for the benefitment of a large part of the society. You are a part of the society or not, it depends upon your mental status over there, whether you accept yourself to be a part of the society or you think that you are different from the society. So this is the effect of marginalization, how it plays on your mind. Now, but because of the fundamental right, all the credit goes to the fundamental rights. If a violation of fundamental right happens with a minority or the Muslims, what we are discussing about here, they are free to go to the court and file their cases. They can fight a case against the whatsoever process they thought that they were not a part of, or they were being neglected, or their fundamental rights were violated. They have the right to constitutional remedies. They can go and fight a case or file a case in a court, and they can seek for justice. Now, the government wanted to see whether there is any progress in the Muslim community or not. For this, it had set up a committee in 2005, of which Mr. Rajinder Sachar was the head. He was the justice then, and he was told to find out whether these particular communities were developing on the basis of social norms, economic norms, and educational norms also. All these three categories were to be the investigation was to be done, and a particular report was to be submitted by the committee. Now, when this entire study took place, then the committee submitted its report. This committee's report came as a shocking revelation for us, that Muslims progress when you come to the context of social reforms, or when it comes to the context of education or from economics. Muslims' part the condition of the Muslims could be compared to those with the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. So when we talk about the social marginalization, now one by one I'll discuss. Social marginalization, how did this particular committee come to this particular inference? When you talk about Muslims, they dress up differently. They wear burqas, they have a long beard, and they have a typical style of dressing, and then in a crowd you can definitely pinpoint that this person is a Muslim. By the attire, by the look on the face, we can definitely pinpoint and say these are Muslims. So basically what I'm trying to say is they are different from the crowd. And when you are different from the crowd, that mentality strikes in over here that you will be marginalized. You will be set aside saying you are different from us, so we will treat you differently. This is on the basis of social so on the basis of social attire, or the way you behave in the community, you are marginalized. When it came to education, the study of this community, the research said that the education part also they have been deprived of. Now, it is not by the government it has been done. This community on their behalf only, this committee had noticed many dropout cases out of the education. They would not even complete their basic schooling. They would drop out of the studies, and they would try to earn for their family, as they have huge families as well. They are different. They do not have the smaller version of the families. They have many children. That also makes them different from the league. That comes under the social marginalization. So they're different from us. A normal Hindu or a Christian, would have 2 kids or 3 kids. They would have more than that. So that also makes them different ways. So education wise also they were not that I would say literate when compared to the other communities present in India. Moreover, they have their own way of studying in madrasas and all. So if you talk about education in the form of schooling, in the form of university level of education, you would find less Muslims over there. That was on the education basis. When it came to economic also, there was a study, the 3 studies given in your textbook, and the data has been given. When you see the economic reform part of it as well, aspect of it as well, you will find that the Muslims are on the least end of it, where economically stable people amongst the list, Muslims come the last. So when the committee saw all these things, they tried to find out as to what could be the reason. So the reason was only and only insecurity among them, because they were not greater in number. They had this set of mind, the state of mind that would say that we are not greater in number, so we will form something called a ghetto. Now please, this word is there in your textbook. Now ghetto is a group of people living together in an area just to feel secure and united so that they can stand for each other, supporting each other. Now when you see Muslims dwelling, you'll find in an entire area the number of Muslims is huge. Muslim population is huge. So this would be called a ghetto, a place where you would see the maximum number of people dwelling would be belonging to one particular community, but you would not find this normally for other communities in India. You would find for Muslims more. You would not see at a particular place only Christians living or only Jains living or only Buddhists or other community people living, Hindus living, but you will see that Muslims live in one particular area where they feel secure. They feel they are having people of the same kind roaming around. So this is because of this feeling called insecurity, and the process which led to the forming of a ghetto would be termed as ghettoization. This particular terminology has been used in your text. The definition also has been given. The insecurity of the people, forcing them to live together so that they can feel protected and their interests are the same, so they feel united, they feel supported by the people living in their area. So this is actually what the reasoning was found. This was the reasoning that was found by the committee that led to the social, the economic and the educational downfall of this particular minority in India. Now minorities are minority, if you talk about, we have cited the best example in our textbook, that is Muslim. But marginalization is not only with minorities or only with Adivasis. Marginalization can take place with women also in India. Marginalization can take place with Dalits also, like I said, scheduled castes now. This particular topic will be taken up in the coming up lectures in the next chapters, so we are not going to dig into it. How do we deal with marginalization? Is the best process is literacy. Educate yourself. Understand the things which are going around. Expand the thinking ability of your brain. Don't become confined to your thought process. Don't get carried away by what the majority says. You have to have your own rational thinking. And even the government, even the Constitution of India supports us. If there is any violation of right, you can fight back. So you need not feel insecure just because you are less in number, or people have this stereotype type of thinking, or they taboo you by saying that you're lesser in number or you have been living in jungles. So if somebody marginalizes you, definitely you need to have the courage to stand up and fight back, not in the form of a physical state, but you need to have that knowledge, that intellect to prove that you are worth compared to any other citizen in India, may they be belonging to any particular category. So that's the finale explanation of this particular chapter. I'll be giving you the words, the keywords, the extra keywords for which you will asked to find definitions from, and this particular thing will be appearing in the exam. Thank you.